Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Public safety is an incredibly important goal and something I think we should all be able to agree on. And you know what makes the public safe? Resources, which is exactly what this bill aims to starve communities across the state from, and exactly what you, Mr. Speaker, and your party, the Republicans, have been doing for decades. Resources make communities safer. And if you look at the communities across the state and across the country that have the lowest crime rates, excluding white-collar crimes, of course, you'll notice that they have clean, well-paved roads, lots of green space, vibrant, fully staffed community centers, all sorts of activities going on, you name it. And the communities that have the highest crime rates, you know what you'll see? A lack of resources, a dearth. You'll see recreation spaces that are limited, streets and neighborhoods that have been financially neglected, and families that are struggling. In Milwaukee alone, we see this every single day, and across the street you see this. So, Mr. Speaker, if you and the Republicans are interested in making our community safer, you would be interested and you'd be willing to talk about increasing funding and increasing resources, not taking stuff away, which is exactly what you aim to do. Yeah, you want a virtue signal, you want to throw all this saucy language out there, but what you're talking about is starving communities that are already going hungry. And we already have the answers. In fact, Governor Evers introduced a budget that does exactly that is pro-public safety, that invests in health care, that helps communities remove dangerous lead laterals. It would have legalized cannabis and reinvested in the communities that have been torn apart by the war on drugs. It would have increased funding for education. That's violence prevention. That's crime prevention. It would have invested in local governments and a whole host of other important community quality of life services for our communities to thrive. That's violence prevention. That's crime prevention. That's what Governor Evers did, and that's what you, Mr. Speaker, and your Republicans ripped out of the budget, and now you want to starve local communities even more. The Republican-controlled Joint Finance Committee looked at those priorities, which have been proven to reduce crime and strengthen communities, and chose to significantly diminish or altogether strip them apart. You would rather tear people down, tear communities apart, than build them up and actually prevent crime and stop that crime from happening in the first place. And this isn't an anomaly. This is what you've been doing for decades. Over and over, we've heard these Republican-push policies, quote-unquote, tough-on-crime legislation, which is more accurately described as stupid-on-crime, that criminalize our communities and destroy family units time and time again. And we've seen Republicans ignore and block efforts to meaningfully invest in our communities. And what's the result? More wasteful spending, more crime, more poverty, more harm, more police brutality, more Republican payoffs to the special interest groups that control them, less safety. Now let's take a moment and think to ourselves about the communities that I spoke about before with the lowest crime rates and the most resources. And imagine for 1 second if instead of isolated pockets across the state, that was the whole state, and we gave the proper resources to every community, to every municipality, to every local government that needed it. Now let's take it a step further. Instead of just imagining it, let's realize it. We as lawmakers have the power and the responsibility to do just that. And if we weren't being blocked by you, Mr. Speaker, and the Republican Party, we could be preventing crime every single day. We could be investing and building up communities. But you would rather starve out communities that are already hungry, and you would rather continue the same old that has not been working. This bill and others like it are a clear and present threat to the safety of our communities. The vote is red.